How's everybody doing? Oh, we can do better than that. How's everybody doing? You know, it's amazing. So I went back home recently to Appalachia to visit my mother, and I had to pick up a couple of things for her. And as I was walking toward the store, I was taking a couple of steps, and I heard a voice in the background that said, "Junebug, is that you?" And I was thinking, my mother didn't name me Junebug. So I took a couple of other steps, and I heard, "Junior, do you hear me calling you?" And I said, well, that's getting closer to my name, but my name is not Junior. So I took a couple more steps, and I heard someone say, "Boy, I know you hear me talking to you." So I turn around, and it's my elementary school teacher. And she says, "Mustafa, how are you?" And I said, "I'm blessed." And she said, "Highly favored?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." And then she said, "I see you sometimes on TV." She said, "What's really going on? Do you remember what I taught you?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Let me hear it." I said, "We find these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, endowed with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." She said, "That last part is getting a little hard, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, it is." She said, "Well, what are you doing about it?" I said, "Well, at the Hip Hop Caucus and with a whole bunch of other folks, we booted Pruitt." I said, "We are wheeling out Wheeler." She said, "Well, what are you doing with Zinke?" I said, "Well, I don't know. We're getting slinky with Zinke." I didn't know what to say. I was running out of words. She said, "Well, maybe what you need to do is you need to call up Olivia Pope." I said, "Okay." She said, "You got her phone number, don't you?" I was like, "No, but you know, you can't tell your elders everything like that." She said, "Because you need gladiators for change." Y'all say gladiators for change. Say it one more time like you mean it. Gladiators for change. So she said, "You know Mrs. Jenkins down here at the end of the block who has the beauty shop?" She said, "She's a gladiator for change." She said that Miss Jenkins had a problem where the coal trucks were coming and idling beside her shop and the emissions were coming in. So Mrs. Jenkins understood the power of her vote. And she would take and get a number of the ladies who came into her shop to agree that they would vote. So she took that list down to the town hall and said, "I need your help. And if you don't give me the help, then we'll find somebody else who can." Y'all say, "Go ahead, Miss Jenkins." Say, "Go ahead, Miss Jenkins." So as I was walking away, I heard her say, remember James Baldwin, when he said that if you love me, then you have to raise your consciousness and address the things that people don't see. So I started to think about the power of our vote. I was thinking about environmental climate issues, healthcare-related issues, gun reform, and how it all comes together. So you guys do me a favor. Everybody take a deep breath in. Let it out. You know the power of your vote can change that dynamic because in our country, 200,000 people die prematurely every year from air pollution. You have the ability to make change happen if you utilize your vote. Places like the Manchester community in Houston, Texas, when you go there and you roll down the windows of your car, you feel like you're breathing in gasoline fumes. But we have gladiators for change in Juan Paras and Brian Paras with Tejas, who are helping to make real change happen. But they need your help with your vote. If you slide down the coast a little bit further and you go to Port Arthur, Texas, you have a gentleman by the name of Hilton Kelly, who stands tall as a gladiator for change, fighting against the petrochemical corporations that are there. And each day, people's eyes are burning, their throats are burning. They're facing all kinds of public health challenges. But it's our vote that helps them on the state level and the federal level to make real change happen. But we've got to get engaged. By a show of hands, how many folks in the room know somebody who has asthma? Raise your hand if you know somebody. Everybody look around the room right now. It's amazing that there's not one hand that hasn't gone up. 27 million people in our country are suffering from asthma, 7 million children. And disproportionately, it is African American and Latino children who are going to the emergency room and who unfortunately are losing their lives. Our vote can change that. We can put people in who care about what's happening inside of our communities. We have gladiators in Flint with Little Miss Flint and Pastor Hawkins. And we know the impacts that lead is happening, but sometimes we forget that over 1 million children in our communities have been exposed to lead poisoning. We have to do something, and over 3,000 locations across our country have higher levels of lead. So we have to use our vote to make real change actually happen. Sometimes, each and every one of us forget that we have power. I'm going to prove to you that you have power. Everybody stand up, if you can. I know some of y'all was out late last night on Bourbon Street. How many people in the room remember the Women's March? So there were a whole bunch of men who said a million women will never get together. And sisters said, oh yeah, I got something for you. So not only did women march, but they took that energy back to their homes, to their communities. And now we have folks like Stacey Abrams who's running for office. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's running for office. Thousands of other women across the country are saying, if you won't handle your responsibilities, we will, and we'll make real change happen. That's power. We also remember the Science March, don't we? Now, I'm going to tell y'all something. I know a whole bunch of scientists, and some of them came out their labs a little shaky like in the beginning. But they came out. They said, come on, it's okay, come on, come on. And then they began to march. And they began to march against an administration that says that science isn't real because they're trying to weaken policy. And they know if they can weaken policy, then they can affect what's happening in our communities and continue to create chaos. So they marched and they took the energy back to communities and said, if the federal government will not do what it's supposed to do and abdicate its responsibilities, we will fill that space. And we will make sure that truth and honesty in science is moving forward. And then we've had Black Lives Matter, where we've had young men and losing their lives to police violence, but people have come together. The Muslim ban, folks came to the airports and stood up and showed their power and how we can push back against injustice. And then we also know recently we had the Youth Climate March. This is 0 hour. Young people saying that if you will not do what's right to protect our communities, we will. And build an intergenerational process that protects all people. That is power. And that is tied to our vote. Everyone do me a favor. Take the hand of the person on the left hand of you. Grab the person on the other side's right hand. Yeah, y'all should have washed your hands before you came today. At the Hip Hop Caucus, we are all about building bridges. We use our artists and entertainers in authentic collaborative partnerships to make sure that real change is happening, that culture is respected, that we are creating content that helps to motivate and move people. But when you look around this room, what you see is that you have people of all faiths, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Sikh, atheist, who are coming together. That scares people. You also find that we have African Americans, we have Latinos, we have indigenous brothers and sisters, white brothers and sisters, Asian brothers and sisters. That is power in that moment. And that is how we make real change happen. Dr. King said that we come to these shores on different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. Nothing could be more apropos than what we are dealing with at this moment. But we understand that there is power that exists inside of our vote. Everyone do me a favor. Everyone say power. Power. Say power. Power. I'm going to let it get real good to you now. Everybody drop those hands. Put your right hand in the air. Let it get good like 1968 at the Olympics. We're going to show folks in the state houses. We're going to show folks in Washington, D.C. what time it really is. Everybody say power. Power. I'm Mustafa Santiago Ali. Thank you so much for your time.